Welcome everyone to the latest edition of the From Darkness to Light series. We're thrilled to be joined by Rabbi Shmuel Esti Kimche, all the way from Ramat Beit Shemesh. Thank you very much for joining us. Do you want to just outline the challenge that you faced, and then we'll talk a little bit about the coping mechanisms and what you learned?
Okay, so the story takes place 10 years ago. We gave birth to our fourth child. He was born kind of shockingly at 24 weeks. We were somewhat not expecting that. He was born at about 800 grams, and the doctors had absolutely didn't think he would live for more than, a few hours. And it was an amazing journey, and in a journey of connecting to God, connecting to the wider Jewish community, as we sort of journeyed through a 6-month, very bumpy period, where he finally came out of the hospital. So very much in a nutshell, is a story of a very, very premature birth, with a child who survived against the odds.
Wow. And you were in London at the time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So we were living in London, and we were both working in different positions. I think in the JLE of London, on Golders Green Road, and teaching various places. I was the rabbi of a fledgling synagogue in Hendon, and this was our first few months in that position. And all of a sudden, Baruch Hashem, Esti was. We knew that the pregnancy wasn't going too great. We went for some scans, and the doctors always looked at us as like, we're not sure. And then suddenly, it was exactly 10 years ago. It was 2 days ago, 10 years ago. Yeah, it was just over 10 years ago when we suddenly realized it's this is not normal, and we went to the UCH. And the UCH actually didn't have beds for us, so they put us in an ambulance and sent us to the Homerton Hospital, which was far away for us. It was like it was crazy, and we were totally out of our zone, and doctors kept coming in and asking us to sign papers, this and that and the other, and we weren't expecting it. But Friday morning, the 17th of December, which was it was Parshat Vayechi, and this Shabbat was Parshat Vayechi as well. All of a sudden, the doctors weren't expecting it, and it was crazy. There was no one in the room actually at the time. Wow. And suddenly I scream out to a doula, and she hits a button on the wall, and the doctor comes in and literally catches this little baby. Like, now I'm talking about it, but when I'm thinking about it, it's like nuts. Wow. Caught this little baby and put it in a little Tesco bag, a little bag to retain his heat. He was so small. Yeah. And tried to resuscitate him, and it was the craziest thing. It was Friday afternoon, the snowiest Friday afternoon that London had seen in I think 20 years or something. It was a snowstorm in 2010. And here we were with a little baby who was just about resuscitated at 880 grams, and all the doctors told us there's no way that this baby is going to be able to live. So what do you do then, Rav Daniel? What do you do in that situation? What do we do in that situation?
I'm handing the mic straight back to you. I mean, what did you do? I mean, what did you do? It was 6 months, you said, in the hospital, more or less. So what did you do to cope? What got you through? I don't even know where to start, to be honest.
Right.
I have to say, looking back, it was a journey. It was an amazing journey. And when we speak together often, I was inspired from my husband, shared with me that in Judaism, the first time we hear the word to be tested, because really very much this is something we felt we went through a test. The first time we sort of thrown a test is Abraham's test with the Akedah, and there we're told that the word test actually has several different meanings, and one of them is the word to be lifted or carried, and one of them is to go on a journey. And I very, very much felt that the journey, this was a journey, it was a test, but it was very much a journey. It was a journey of deepening our relationship with God very much, deepening our relationship with the Jewish community, with the larger Jewish family, which we felt was so enormously supportive and behind us all of the way. And it was a journey. I mean, we also felt we saw tremendous amounts of miracles as well.
I'll tell you, it was that Friday afternoon. That Friday we were like mama shell shocked, at 2:15 that this baby is born, and Shabbat comes in at 4:15 or something like that, mid December. I don't remember the exact times, and suddenly we realized that we were going to be alone with no family, or no one's able to come visit, and no food, and nothing's kosher. So we went down to the desk, and the desk said, You're Jewish, right? You're looking for the Jewish room. I said, what are you talking about, Jewish room? And so he says, go around back. You'll see there's a caravan outside, freezing cold. I go outside, and I get to this caravan, and I punch on a code. Yeah, it was clear. It says, like, in the Hebrew lettering, that you had to figure out the code. It was like, playing one of those games. And you punch in the code, and I open the door, and it was unbelievable. There's an organization called Ezra Umarpa, which is an organization based in N16 in Stamford Hill, and they have a fully stocked room in many hospitals. I found out later, and everything that you could possibly want, not just food, and it's unbelievable, and really. I couldn't actually believe it, but over the course of the time, we realized that they actually sent in doulas, they sent in people, and when we went back home, and it was just like the community and the outpouring and feeling a part. We were literally carried by people who we had no idea who they were, and that was definitely part of it.
I'll share a nugget of just many weeks later, when he was already transferred to a different hospital, and I had like a little bit more time on my hands, because obviously the first few months of the journey was really, if we weren't in hospital with him, we were home, or trying to be home, to give a little bit of attention to our 3 other very small children. I remember taking a walk. It was probably about 4 months after the baby was born, and it was a walk, I think it was in Hendon. I stopped into one of the kosher stores, and I saw that hanging above the a candy aisle, by candy pick and mix aisle, there was a sign that said, enjoy the candy, but when you buy it, please make a blessing in the merit of the recovery of, and then it said my baby's name. Oh, wow. Somebody had taken the time to walk around different stores, put up our child's name, and asking people to pray for him. And I was tremendously overwhelmed by that. Maybe in addition, I'll share, there was a lady, again, not somebody I knew at all, from Manchester, who would send me a text message at the end of every single day. Wow. Maybe I'll just backtrack and tell you, one of the things that we felt that we needed to work on very much, because you asked how did we get through, was we understood that if God's putting us on this journey, we better develop a better relationship with him. And I knew that I needed to feel God right there. I needed Hashem right there with me. So my husband recommended that we possibly, took on maybe making blessings with a little bit more thought. And that way we could pull God into the here and now, and every, a mundane moment, we feel that much closer to Hashem. So we messaged around to a few other people who said, how can we help you? How can we be involved? What can we do for you? So we said, look, there's nothing physical you can do for us, but maybe you want to be part of this journey with us. Maybe you also want to make blessings in the merit of our baby. So this word must have got spread around quite far and wide, because I got this daily WhatsApp message. I think it was text message still. It was like a BlackBerry message back in the day, from this wonderful lady in Manchester who I really do not know. She sent me a message, and it said daily, this is the number of blessings that were made by my family, my children, as a merit for the recovery of your baby. Oh, wow. And she said she hung a little piece of paper by their kitchen table, and every time one of her children made a blessing out loud and with thought, and dedicated that as to the recovery of our child, she'd checked it off, and at the end of the day she counted up the checks and she just sent me that number. And I was just deeply people cared and wanted to be part of this with us, and what it did for my faith.
That's incredible. That really, really is incredible.
I just want to add like one, I think a very important part of the story with like the message that was really important for me, that the baby was 22 days old. So we're talking about early, 3 weeks old. And we'd been called in a few times in the middle of the night. It was actually hilarious. I was the Rav of a shul, and I was carrying my cell phone because, like, Hatzalah members need to carry their cell phone. I was also, and I got a call in the middle of my drasha, in the middle of my sermon, and I was called, and I'll never forget the looks on the faces. But it was 100% the right thing to do to have my phone on me then. So we came in that time. We didn't leave. We were in the hospital, and at a certain point, I'm sitting next to the baby. And I see that the baby, his stats are dropping. He had a problem with his lungs, and his everything was dropping. And at a certain point, I told the nurse, what's going on? And the nurse says, no, it's okay. It goes down, up. And I said, this isn't going up. And she realized it wasn't. She runs to the wall. She presses a red button, and the whole room lights up. And within 3.5 seconds, there are like 8 doctors around this little baby, little Chaim. We had named him Chaim. And Esti was out the room, I think. Esti was out the room. And I was in the room, and all of a sudden I realized this is it. I think the baby is not going to make it. And I remember I'm standing in the corner, and it's like a blue room, like looks very futuristic. There are these big screens everywhere in the cots, and I'm standing in the corner, and I can hear them trying to resuscitate, and I can feel the tension in the room, and I remember turning to Hashem and speaking to Hashem, and I remember the pasuk that I said, "Biyadcha afkid ruchi, padita oti Hashem kel emet." Hashem, our lives are in your hands. If you want him alive, then he's going to be yours. If you don't, then you don't. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's in your hands. And I remember saying, "Haneshama alach v'haguf pa'alach." The neshama is yours, and the body is yours. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if you want him to live, he'll live. And I remember I was crying, and in the end, there was a nurse who I heard the back of my, I heard, let's try this. And I didn't know what it was, but later I found out it was an adrenaline shot. And if there are any doctors listening to this, they know that one doesn't give adrenaline shots to neonatal little kids. It's a dangerous thing to do, but they did. And suddenly he came back to life.
Yeah.
And I went out with Esti to the car and said, Esti, we've got to go home. It was like frazzling. It was the end of a 48-hour, very, very tough period of time. And we went home, and just then there was a gentleman called Eitan Katz. He had come out with a new CD, and the song that I had heard was called Lemancha, become a very famous song. But it's Lemancha Elokeinu Aseh V'lo Lanu. Kadosh Baruch Hu, do it for your sake, not for our sake. Re'ei amidatenu, dalim v'reikim, we're not worthy. Haneshama alach v'haguf pa'alach. Hashem, it's all you. And I remember we put in the CD, and we were crying. We were driving home, and I think that piece of music and those words became very, very central to us, and really music generally. It wasn't just music. It was emunah music. It was music that really touched our neshama, and we were able to dig deep. But it was someone asked Esti once. It was the dumbest question in the world, but someone most insensitively asked Esti. I remember I was there. I couldn't believe it. Would you go through it again, or would you rather this not have happened? Or, I'm not sure that was the wisest thing to ask. But Esti asked. Esti said that, for sure that I can't say that I want to go through what we went through.
Chosen necessarily to go through it.
But the fact that we did go through it deepened us as people, deepened us, that made us more humanistic. I can point to that period in my life, in our lives, that made us open to other people, more loving, more accepting, more real, and it completely redefined our relationship with Hashem.
Right,
It was,
incredible and inspiring. Just really, I'm totally moved. I guess we could just finish off with one question, which is, other people who might be going through similar or just challenges in life, what advice, in a nutshell, kind of like a 35-second bit of advice, would you have for them, knowing your experiences, knowing what you've gone through, knowing your struggles?
Wow, that's an amazing question.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just going to answer off the cuff. I could really give this more thought, but I would say dig deep inside, because there's a wellspring of connection and an amazing deep place of prayer and reaching out that probably most of us have never touched until we're forced into that position. And some of those prayers and some of those moments are just closing our eyes and just speaking to God. And it doesn't have to be in Hebrew, or it doesn't have to be a formal prayer at all. It can be the most deep and powerful moments of life. So I would say there's a deep inward reaching. And I would say also reach out to other people who've either gone through stuff, or even just to family or to the wider community, because there's a tremendous amount of support and love. Too many people, go through so many difficult things without reaching out, without sharing, and they're reaching out and asking others for help, and it doesn't make, becoming vulnerable is a good thing, is very important.
Beautiful. Look, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. Please God, only lots of simcha and lots of good health. Thanks so much for sharing your story and the very important lessons of how you coped and challenges in general. Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure.
Our pleasure. Thank you, Daniel.
Bye-bye.